Okay, this one's going to take a little bit of sorting through because it's a relatively difficult concept to understand, but it's a really key one in understanding the difference between character disturbance and neurosis and the ways that traditional metaphors have set us up to misperceive what goes on in the interactions between the disturbed character and victims in problem relationships with these folks. And that is that with neurotic individuals, they engage in certain habitual mental behaviors that are best described as defense mechanisms. These are things that they do unconsciously, completely unconsciously, that protect them from experiencing emotional pain. That's what a defense mechanism is, basically. It's a way to protect oneself from the experience of pain, and especially pain that is not bearable at a conscious level. So your unconscious mind takes care of that for you. It protects you from unbearable pain by putting up a wall or a barrier to the experience of that pain so that you don't go around your whole life feeling miserable. Many of the things that we have traditionally thought about as defense mechanisms are actually automatic behaviors that are not unconscious. They're automatic, but they're not unconscious. Tactics of responsibility avoidance and tactics of impression management and manipulation. They're not defenses at all. As a matter of fact, they are quite literally and more appropriately offenses. They are offensive tactics designed to throw you on the defensive, to get you to back off or back down, and they are fighting tools to enable the disturbed character to continue to fight against internalizing the value or standard of conduct that you want them to adopt. For example, we have misused the term frequently projection. Sometimes we say projecting the blame. And what we're really talking about is the behavior of blaming others for behavior. This is not a defense mechanism. This is a fighting tactic. This is a way that I say to you, I am going to keep doing exactly as I have been doing because you made me do it in the first place. It's your fault. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just responding appropriately to what you did. And therefore, because it's your fault, you shouldn't think ill of me, hence the impression management. And I should be able to do it again because it was the right response to the wrong you did. So, with respect to any of the tactics that we will talk about later at length, and we'll talk about each one of them, because they have been misconstrued by laypersons and by therapists alike for years as defenses, especially as ego defenses. And they're not. Primarily, they are not. When we get into that, one of the points that needs to be made perhaps more than any other point is whenever you hear these tactics or witness these tactics being used, you have absolute assurance that the behavior you have a problem with is going to occur again. Because until the person in their heart says, okay, I get it. I shouldn't call names like that. I shouldn't just run roughshod over everybody else's feelings. It shouldn't be just about me. Okay. Until a person in their heart does that, they're going to do it again. Whatever the wrong thing is, they're going to do it again. Guaranteed. You have my absolute, unconditional, money-back promise. It's going to happen again. And this is the difference between a responsibility avoidance tactic and a tactic of manipulation and impression management and an ego protection mechanism or an ego defense mechanism that is designed to protect me from something too horrible to feel. And it's a really important distinguishing characteristic. Okay, another very big distinction between neurotic individuals and individuals more character disturbed is the issue of what they need from intervention. For the most part, what individuals who are more neurotic tend to need in intervention is support, understanding, insight, especially insight, because remember, a lot of the problems that they're having are due to unconscious fears, emotional conflicts that they're not very aware of at a conscious level. So they need and they benefit from support, guidance, especially insight. What disturbed characters need more than anything else, I frame in this way. They need corrective, emotional, and behavioral experience. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, in the interaction with somebody, anybody, whether it be the therapist or somebody who's finally got a clue how to deal with them, what they need is to be able to not succeed with their usual strategy of taking advantage of, manipulating, or hurting somebody else, so that they're basically pressured into at least trying out a different approach. Now that doesn't mean that once they try that new approach out, that forever and again their life has changed and they're going to be an entirely new person. No, it doesn't mean that. But it's at least one learning trial. It's at least one bit of exposure to a new way of looking at and dealing with things. So the correction always takes place in the here and now. It happens in the moment that you're dealing with them. It's in that precious moment of interaction where you set new boundaries, new rules, establish values and expectations, and any motion in the right direction you reinforce. You acknowledge and you reinforce as a step in the right direction. Now I'm speaking in general terms because these principles apply whether you're a person who's just exasperated trying to deal with a person like this, or you're a therapist trying to affect some meaningful change. The same rule applies. Every encounter in the here and now is an opportunity for something new to happen.